I love the idea of asking girls who they want it to be. Not necessarily what they want it to be yet, because that comes later, but who they want it to be, and then putting girls face to face with female role models.
Thanks to MedJet for supporting the Lady Business podcast. If you're hospitalized or your security is threatened while traveling, they can get you home. I'm a MedJet member and have been for years. Everyone who travels should be. Enroll before your next trip at medjet.com. Welcome to Taking Care of Lady Business, where we get real about what it takes to succeed, whether it's in business, life, or both. I'm talking to game-changing and visionary women who've broken barriers, built empires, and redefined success on their own terms. They'll share their strategies, secrets, and the no BS advice you need to rise to the top. I'm your host, Jennifer Justice, also known as JJ. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Taking Care of Lady Business. I'm Jennifer Justice. Today, we have Illana Raia, the CEO and founder of Etra. Hi, Illana. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me. It's great to see you.
I know. I'm so excited about this because we often focus on taking care of lady business on advice around, women in C-suite or VP and above. And it's all amazing. And there's so many things we can do and change in the world and the patriarchy and for ourselves, make choices. But you are really talking to Gen Z girls and now Gen Alpha girls, I am sure. Yeah. And showing them, right, if you can be it, you can see it, what it is to be in the workplace. So I will just leave it at that. And I want you to go into it and tell us all about Etra and how it started.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy. And I love being part of podcasts like this, where you are really part of this huge network of women, all of whom are so excited to share their wisdom with that next generation. Every bit of wisdom that you guys are sharing extends in some way to the girls who are coming up. So I just love this sort of intergenerational sharing that we have.
And I learn something every single time myself.
So great.
I'm like, wait, what?
Right.
Yeah. Self-serving.
So Etra means to be in French. And the reason when I started a mentorship platform, the reason I wanted to call it that was I love the idea of asking girls who they want it to be. Not necessarily what they want it to be yet, because that comes later, but who they want it to be, and then putting girls face to face with female role models. So I'll tell you how I started it, but the heart of Etra as it stands right now is that it's a mentorship platform, and we bring girls as early as middle school directly into companies to meet female leaders face to face. And we can talk about the companies and how the girls pick them, but that's the heart of it. So that's why it's called Etra. As you said, if they can see it, they can be it. And we ask everyone who they want to be. Before I started this in 2016, before that, I was a corporate lawyer, as you know, for a really long time. I did mergers and acquisitions with Skadden Arps, and I loved it. Happy, truly nerdy lawyer. And I realized early on that my daughter, who was then in middle school, really didn't know what I did every day. And it bothered me a little bit that she didn't see me in that work capacity, or that she didn't see what my friends were doing, and they had really cool jobs. So I started taking her to see my friends in action at work. And when I started doing that, let's go see what it's like to be a fashion designer, run a public company, work on Wall Street, be a surgeon, any of these things where I had these friends in my network, she loved it. And she lit up, and the women loved it, and the companies loved it. And I just started thinking, girls everywhere should be doing this. Why can't I take 10 girls into Spotify and have them meet the women there? And that was actually the first company that we visited. So the mentorship angle I had been thinking about since I had been working. And when I retired in 2014, I really started thinking about it. And in 2016, Etra was born.
Was any part of it having to do with, when you're away from your kids and you're working and they're like, what are you doing that's so important? Or, and I try to tell mine, it's like, you want to do something that you really love. It doesn't mean I don't love you or want to spend time. Like, did that help with that kind of connection as well?
It did. I think I was really at fault when I was working because I was so focused on toss the briefcase behind the planter when you walk in, focus on the kids. Everybody tell me about soccer. How was your day? They didn't see me working. This was also at a time where we weren't working from home. They weren't seeing me field calls from my kitchen. COVID changed that for so many calls. Moms all of a sudden really rose to that moment. And when you were working in the kitchen and your kids saw you negotiate a raise, talk to your team, bring something to market, I think girls saw their moms in a whole new way, which was, if there was a silver lining, it was one of them. This wasn't the case. I started working in 93, which was the year that Bring Your Daughters to Work Day started. And so once a year, my kids might visit my office. That was it. I didn't do a good job of sharing my workplace with them. And so, did I make up for it in a hurry? I tried to.
But you started it in 2016. Like, how did you find people? And is it a 501c3? Is it a for-profit? Yeah,
It's
amazing.
a B Corp, which was something that was very deliberately done. I didn't know what it was going to be. And I talked to a lot of founders before I started it. I spent all of 2015 realizing that while I had known exactly what I was doing as a lawyer, I didn't know anything about being a founder. And I sat with anyone who would take the meeting. I sat with founders, women, men, really asking, what did you learn? What could you have done differently? So we are a B Corp because I didn't know if we were going to partner with other people, partner with brands, collaborate, acquire, be acquired. I just didn't know. So it gave me a lot of flexibility. Initially, I started with girls who were friends of friends' daughters, things like that. I put a board together really quickly. I no longer had a middle schooler. So I reached out and started. My advisory board was all girls. It still is. We have a grown-up executive board as well. But our advisory board is over 100 girls giving constant feedback. That was crucial. And when I started, from the day I pushed publish on a website that I built, which is not the beautiful website you see now, but the very first website.
I had one of those too, trust me.
Yeah, I built it on Weebly. I took classes at General Assembly to learn how to do it. But from the moment I pushed publish, I said I was going to send at least one cold email every day to a woman I didn't know and send it 3 lines long. This is what I'm doing. Here's the link to the website. I would love your feedback, good or bad. And what I really wanted was the bad feedback. I love that you love the idea of what I'm doing, but what am I doing wrong? What gaps? What am I missing? And I did.
Wow, please pause there for 1 second. Like, no one wants to hear what you're doing wrong. Like, you know what I mean?
Bring it. I was so new in the space, and I recognized that rookie status. And I cold emailed women I had never met, but I had maybe seen speak or watched their TED Talk. And Ariana Huffington wrote back within 6 weeks. I love what you're doing. I want a video of you with your girls. She was doing that Talk to Me series. She gave me a column on HuffPost so I could break down topics for girls. And that just put us on the map so early. So within 6 weeks, one of those cold emails just landed and we were sticky.
Wow. No, it just always reminds me of this conversation I had with Joe Gebbia, who from Airbnb, and I was like, why did you guys think you could do this? And he was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, said no man ever. You know what I mean? It's like, so the difference is like, hey, I'm doing this thing. Like, you still knew that you could do it, right? So you had the confidence to say, I could do it. But you were like, but what am I doing wrong? Like, it's so the difference, right? the different chromosomes. All right. So you went out there. A lot of people were telling you you're getting some action, et cetera. Now, how did you decide to do it as a B Corp instead of a nonprofit? And so what does that mean, like financially, and how you guys make money, et cetera?
So I was able to self-fund it from the beginning, which was really important to me. I wouldn't have started it if I didn't know that I could do that. I thought we would scale through schools, which we did, which lightened the cost load quite a bit. So we have after-school mentorship clubs at all kinds of schools, public, private, charter, boarding, international, anything like that. And that really helped us scale without needing PR help, without needing staffing like that. I say we a lot, but, and this isn't news to you, but we, there is one.
Points to herself, by the way.
We have one. I have a chief content officer who's an executive producer, Beth O'Connell, who comes from NBC and UBS, and she came in 4 years ago. And I have a team of tremendous interns, but in truth, it wasn't a tremendously costly venture to start. There's no pay to play with the companies. So any company you see listed on our website, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, the stock exchange, Pixar, NBC, any place where we have visited or done a mentor pop-up, it's a pure play. And that was really important to me because I wanted the girls to be able to ask anything. And I wanted the companies to be able to ask the girls anything as a focus group, knowing that this was really pure and authentic. I've written 2 books, and every dollar from the books goes back into Etra. Anytime we do any kind of brand collaboration or there's any revenue whatsoever, that goes back into the company. And we've been doing it that way. We had one angel investor last year that helped us fund a survey. So our second survey was funded from the outside and the PR that went with it, and that was amazing. But up until now,
What was the survey? What does the survey do?
so I really wanted to measure the state of girls' confidence
Mhm.
in a real sort of measurable way. It's one thing to say every time we bring girls into a boardroom, they become more confident. They spin around in their boardroom chair and their hand is up the whole time. I see that, but the question as to whether that's just anecdotal is important. So I wanted to put some numbers behind it. So in 2022 and then in 24, we ran a current state of girls' confidence survey with YPulse. And that's the group that did the original Claire Shipman survey in 2018. And I reached out to Claire and said, this survey is important. It's older. We want to repeat it. We want to dive deeper into it. And she said, phenomenal. So we teamed up with YPulse and we measured nationwide over 1,000 girls, talking about between the ages of 13 and 18, what happens to confidence. And between those ages, as of last year, a girl's confidence can drop by 20%.
Yeah. I once read that the height of a girl's confidence is 8 years old. I read it many times.
I think that's when girls stop saying, I am confident, I am smart. You know, between 13 and 18, their optimism level will drop by 50%. You know, these are the stats where the girls that say they feel smart drops by 50%. The thing that we learned, though, the good news from the survey was that 91% of girls feel like higher confidence is directly related to mentorship. And that was important for us to know. You know, you run a survey, you don't know what the numbers are going to be. That was an important number. 9 out of 10 girls feel like their confidence is bolstered with a mentor by their side. And that's as early as age 13.
What was the Claire Shipman survey?
It was similar. It was a state of confidence question. Okay. And at that point, the confidence drop, I think, was 30%. And we went into different verticals. We went into confidence in STEM, in sports, in finance, and looked at confidence in all of those areas. But the idea of the survey came from Claire, and she did it with Caddy K. And it was really one of the first surveys to look at where girls' confidence stood at that moment, at that slice in time, and to start unpacking why. And that kind of data is really important to us when we talk to schools, when we talk to companies. Why are we doing this? And not offering the corollary for boys.
Yeah.
As the data shows us that if we can close this confidence gap now and address it, maybe it doesn't become a compensation gap later.
Yes,
crucial.
I know. Getting it to the root problem, right?
Yeah.
Right. Right now we can change how we react to the patriarchy. There, they can just not deal with it.
Right. Well, I mean, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. What's the age? You said like 13 is middle school. So it's like, what do they do? Do they go onto the website and walk us through like the process if you're a mom and you want, you know, a girl to like be a part of this?
There are a zillion ways to be involved with us, first of all. You can start, I built it for that middle school age. I will say our youngest board member's 10, and she is all business. She takes it very seriously. So the first thing girls can do is join our advisory board. And because we're global, we've got clubs in 7 countries now. We don't meet in person, obviously. There's a monthly email that goes out. I'm asking questions. I'm looking for their feedback. And this really drives what Etra does next. The girls shape it. If you could visit one of these 5 companies, which would it be? If you could ask one of these leaders 5 questions, who would it be? So the board, they can become a board member. And that's frankly just great practice for being on a board someday, you know, as an adult. We have a TED Ed license. We're really the only girls group that does a TED Ed license, which is TED Education, the younger portion of TED Talks, with a number of different schools. So we just launched our 5th season. We've got 60 girls giving talks, again, across 7 countries. So if your daughter has a big idea and she's 10, 11, or going all the way up to 18 and wants to give a TED Ed talk, she can do that through us. And the topics are amazing. We had an 11-year-old last year give a talk about DNA, and we pair each speaker with an amazing mentor, because that's something that we can bring to the program. And Jen Doudna, the Nobel laureate who won the prize for chemistry, was her mentor.
Wow.
So an 11-year-old. So if you've got a girl who's got a big idea and there's not a way to pursue it through her school, a TED Ed talk being part of that club is great. If you live in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, come to the live boardroom visits. We're going to Pinterest at the end of this month. We're going to Google in May. We've rung the bell at NASDAQ. Again, the ideas come from the girls. And where they go, they pick. So you can do that. And then if you are outside this area, whether your daughter wants to start a club, and starting a club Etra chapter at your school is incredibly easy and free for every girl in every school, or she just wants to meet someone amazing, DM us, find us on Instagram. You want to Zoom with an astronaut? You can do that. You want to talk to someone about getting your art scene at Pixar? We can do that. There's no guarantee as to what actually happens, but can I put you in front of that woman at an early and impactful age? Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
That's the part that's a lot of fun, I think, for the parents and for the kids.
And so now you also have a lot of data. You're 9 years into this, right?
Yeah, next month.
So they've graduated, they're in college, going through college in careers. When they're sitting in these boardrooms and, the companies are there, are they realizing the issues that there are out there for girls to get these jobs and get paid equally? Where does that discussion go? You know what I'm saying?
What's great about it is because they're starting in these boardrooms so young, right? You're talking about middle school or high school. They're asking very unvarnished questions.
Yeah.
They're not in that boardroom saying, hey, where's my internship?
Yeah.
They are saying, how do you know what your colleagues get paid? Are you allowed to ask? Are you allowed to negotiate that first salary? Because we sat with Lily Ledbetter 2 years ago, and she told us that if you don't negotiate that first salary to that highest level, you will never catch up in your increments. And Lily Ledbetter, before she passed, looked at these girls and told them that these are the things that they're asking in boardrooms. And the women, because we only meet women when we're there, the women are answering with candor and with, such generosity, talking about their experiences and what they look for in an interview and how they talk about pay and raise and representation in the boardroom. And the girls are just absorbing it. Now we're seeing, to your point, as they get to college, as they start declaring majors, as they start thinking about what to do post-grad, they're reaching back out to the women they met. Hey, that woman I met at Morgan Stanley that time, do you think she'd talk to me about my LinkedIn profile? That woman we met at NBC, do you think she'd talk to me about the PAGE program? And the women are all, interacting again. And there's this unintended but really beautiful pipeline that's happening. Never did I think that was going to happen when I first built it, but I do think it's self-sustaining. And I do think the companies recognize that the girls who are drawn to this may well be the girls they want to employ someday. And there's brand affinity already because that girl felt seen and heard. Someone really listened to her in that boardroom. Why wouldn't she want to work there?
And it also puts them on these companies on blast, basically. It's like going from a photo op, making sure it's not just performative what they're doing.
Yes. And it's true because the girls have voted to be there.
Yeah.
You didn't just pick them out of a hat. I can reach out and say, 2 groups of middle schoolers voted to go to Bubble, the cosmetic company. And I can reach out to their CEO who's in her 30s and say, can we come? And all of a sudden we're there. And those girls now want to be ambassadors. And that's a whole separate thing. But they really do feel seen and heard. And it's up to that company to speak candidly with those girls.
Right, right. And do they see these girls as they go through that there are some companies that have bad reputations for hiring women, maintaining women, are they starting to put those things together too? Or are the companies actually starting to go wait, maybe we need to not have this bad reputation? You seen any of those?
Girls, certainly. They're doing their homework on these companies and they're not shy about saying, how come there are only X number of women on your board? Or how many women are on your team? You're the general counsel. How many women are in your department? They genuinely want to know. And sometimes they get a great answer. I work with an all-female team. Come meet the engineers I work with. Sometimes it's honest, not enough. I'm the only woman in the room most of the time. I don't like it. Here's what we're going to do about it. I definitely think it's eye-opening for the companies, but in a refreshing, this may be the way forward type of way, not an
Right.
accusatory way.
You take them in actual board meetings or like,
Not in board
yeah,
meetings, but we're in the boardroom
yeah,
and we meet with any executives that that company can give us that day.
yeah,
And we don't ask for anyone in particular. We know days can change. We do always go in the middle of the work week. We are
yeah,
pulling girls out of school. Not one school has said no yet, by the way.
yeah,
But we're meeting, it could be anyone from the C-suite to someone who just started that year.
yeah.
And it's all valuable. Meeting with the CEO is tremendously valuable from the founder perspective or running the company. Meeting with the most junior person's valuable because it's relatable.
Yeah.
What was your college major? You graduated a minute ago. How did you get this job?
Right. Yeah. What's one of the most surprising things you've heard people ask, one of them ask in the boardroom?
The girls have asked truly profound questions. And in the beginning, I was unprepared for the level. I was ready for is this your dream job? Did you always want to work here? I was ready for that. When they ask, what's more important, to be effective or to be inspired? I'm like, you're in ninth grade and you're asking that. Like, I don't know how I would answer that. They're great questions. I'm trying to remember where we were. This was maybe at Viacom before the merger and everything. And one of the girls asked an executive, is it more important to be effective or to be inspired in your job? And there was this moment of silence in the room, and everyone realized this girl's the real deal, and you need a real answer for this. And I like it when those thought-provoking moments happen, when you see the light bulb go on, not just over the girl's head, but over the women's heads.
Yeah, because there's so much, our generation has not even thought about. Like, we just go in and we're like, we're just doing it, and we don't want to talk about being a woman. And no. Like, it's like we're just lucky. We feel lucky to be here because everybody makes us feel like we're lucky to be here when actually they're lucky to have us, all of that baggage and drama that we've had to go through. So, speaking of difference between Gen X and Gen Z, and now Gen Alpha, like, what are the key differences you're seeing in these different generations?
I think a lot of it does key off social media. I think the generations who have never, ever known a world without it, and it's just embedded into their lives in every way, from school to social to things like this, the early following role models and things like that. I actually think that the younger generations are growing up with a little more of a purposeful sense to it. And it sounds sort of counterintuitive, but I think that my youngest girls know that if they want to follow an astronaut, they know where to find them. Oh, she probably has an Insta. I bet if I DM her a question, she'll answer me. They're so confident in this space. And obviously, you need smart oversight behind you. You need a parent or a very cool big sister looking over her shoulder. And I'm all for that. And we talk a lot about smart digital habits and safety. But the idea that anyone is accessible and that anyone will answer your question, I think the younger they are right now, the freer they feel about saying, oh, I have a question. And I think that this person, because she gave a TED talk about it, or because I saw that she wrote a book about it, might answer. There's a really refreshing confidence the younger the girls are. They're unabashed with their questions. And I really like that. I think all of the girls that we're serving right now, though, are genuinely curious. I think that's why they're part of this, because they want answers to questions that they're not getting at school or in a different club or on their sports team. They want to talk directly with an Olympic athlete. They want to talk to someone who was the first to play her sport. So I definitely think that their ability to reach out and get that answer is earlier and earlier.
Do you see any difference with Gen Alpha and Gen Z? You're just kind of getting Gen Alpha now, right? They're the youngest.
It's a natural progression for us. It's either the younger sister that has watched her older sister go through this. We have tons of siblings where the older sister gave a TED Ed talk or had a question featured in one of our books, and now the next one wants to come. We've had girls as early as 7 say, can I be involved in this? And truly, it's sort of up to the family and up to the parents. We had a 9-year-old give a TED Ed talk, and why not?
Yeah. So are they aware of like the gender pay gap and discrimination of women in the workplace? You guys talk about that?
We talk about it in a way. It's funny. I broke it down once as almost like a middle school math problem, like breaking it down. If Jack and Jill work the same hours and have the same job and do exactly the same thing, why does it take Jill X number of months or years to catch up? And the shock value there is instant. I mean, it's as simple as a math problem and the math doesn't make sense. We do talk about it. I do encourage them to ask. I think a lot of it is comfort in talking about money, getting rid of that veneer, which is diminishing generation by generation.
Yes, for
The
sure.
idea that it's impolite to talk about money is just out
Only for women,
right.
Illana. Only for women.
In the window. I think they recognize that it's essential to talk about money. And the more we talk openly about our finances in front of our girls, the more we talk about what it's like to fund a business or negotiate that next raise or move laterally to a new firm and what's that package going to look like. When they hear us talking about it in front of them with our girlfriends on podcasts like yours, that's the thing that I think draws their ear to those issues and makes it seem like it's okay to ask. And it's okay to stand on your desk and say, how does that make any sense? That's patently unfair. We want that outrage. We want them to say, that's ridiculous. I work just as hard. They need to hear us doing it. And so that openness, I think, really contributes to their willingness to ask the question in their classroom, in their kitchen, and then in that boardroom that we take them to. They're not shy about asking because they just heard their aunt say something really smart about it and they want to know more.
Have you, do you also talk about in general, we can't change like the patriarchal system underestimating women or women underestimating women. Is that like a part of it as well?
I think they recognize the importance of championing each other.
Yeah.
Allies. And we do talk about having men as allies too. They need everything. We do break down early on the difference between a mentor and a sponsor and a champion and that type of stuff and an ally. I think they recognize that. They talk about, being on a team and having the team support you. These are not concepts that are unfamiliar to them. Yeah, so we're talking about it, but the best part is when you hear them talking about it among themselves.
Yeah. What is the difference between a champion and a mentor and an ally? Yeah.
I mean, I think the way I explain it to the girls, because it obviously has such a different connotation in workplaces where you and I have been, right? There's a work definition for that or a mentorship program. For us, first of all, when I say mentors and I'm talking about girls, these aren't lifelong mentors. These are mentor moments. These are slices in time, quick experiences that they have. To me, a mentor is someone who talks to you. They champion you. They talk about, this is what I see in your skill set. These are your goals. This is how we're going to get there. And they're talking to you. A sponsor talks about you. A sponsor walks into that room and says, this is a person you need to know about. And I've spoken with her mentor, and now you guys need to know about her. And I'm going to talk about her in her absence. And then the champion to me is the person who slams the door behind her in the room and says, I'm not leaving until everyone understands how great she is and ask me anything about her. The champion to me is that next person that makes sure that you not only get into the room, but there's a chair waiting. It's a really simplistic way to talk about it, but one person talks to you and one person talks about you.
Yeah. Oh, very interesting. Okay, I like it. Never really thought about it like that. So what for you has been the most kind of surprising thing as you grow this business?
The speed. I was just not prepared. I thought it was going to be a passion project. I wanted to give it, in terms of its entity structure, as much flexibility as possible. I'm stunned every day when we reach out to a woman and she says, yes, of course. Mm-hmm. I'd love to talk to you. Tyra Banks sitting down with us. Hoda Kotb, bringing the book onto the Today Show. The genuine interest and the women who said, oh, not only will I do it, but you should meet my friend. And she would love to talk to them. The fact that companies don't say no, the fact that schools don't say no, that parents get it. I wasn't prepared for that from the get-go. It was just so instant. And I wish I had been more prepared. I wish I myself had been more confident in the stickiness of the idea to have more of a game plan. For really until now, just the need to swing at every pitch and say yes to everything. We'll figure out how to do it because it's so fantastic. How do we say no? I think I've always felt a little behind the ball with that. And
I mean, Illana, you're falling into the trap of a
I know
one. You don't have to be 110% prepared. You don't have to be
I
perfect.
wasn't. I
You know
wasn't.
what?
I put
Done is better than perfect,
It's
right?
true. And I do have to remind that. I have to remind myself of that all the time
Yeah.
because every time and that's one thing about having someone like Beth on the team, because she does force me to think bigger.
Mm-hmm.
We should have a live TED event instead of virtual. Yes, and let's rent a theater and let's live stream it. Let's make it enormous and let's have Gloria Steinem introduce the girls. And
Yeah.
I still think that I'm always a little unprepared when people are so excited about it.
Well, I mean, you're probably a little bit like me too, in that when I started the company and I was like, oh, I'm going to help women, more, they're more of our age. And now I'm starting to talk to younger generations about negotiating their contract. But it was like, I thought there was a business there, but I didn't know how big. And it's almost like a gift and a curse. You're like, oh yeah, I have business, but you're also like sad that it needs to happen. You know what I mean?
100%. There is a gap there. And part of me wants to know why every company isn't having boardroom days all the time. Why isn't every single time, not just on Day of the Girl, not just on Bring Our Daughters to Work Day, but why isn't that door open all the time? I'm happy to have the space to ourselves right now. I think it's fantastic. But I see the time coming where this is going to be natural and important to companies to say, if we truly want diversity in a boardroom, we need to start saving seats for girls now. We need to show them what we do, particularly when they're already on our platform. They already love our product. They're already ready, waiting for the next drop. They should be inviting them in on a regular basis. And if I can help at all make that happen,
Yeah.
that's so exciting.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing what you're doing. And so where do you see the future of this going? You talked about partnerships. Are there any partnerships you can talk about that you're doing?
I can talk about an early one, which is maybe the one I'm just most excited about. Hello Sunshine has created the very first teen advisory board for their company. And they came to us and they picked 22 girls, ages 10 to 21 from across 10 different states. And it happened in such an exciting way. I had met some women from Candle, and then they introduced me to women at Hello Sunshine. And they said, oh, we love what you're doing. We should do something together. And I said my usual, well, invite us into the boardroom, have us meet some of the executives. And Maureen Polo said, think so much bigger, just think bigger. And not only did they invite us into the boardroom, they gave the girls board roles. And that to me is such a difference. And it's the first time in almost 9 years we've been doing this where girls have seats in that room and voices. And Hello Sunshine wants to hear from them. And they're asking them tons of questions and they're really brainstorming with them in an important way. And these girls feel seen and heard in an entirely fresh way. And there's more coming. And I'm not allowed to talk about a lot of it yet, but it is coming. And the girls have such a heavy hand in creating and shaping the culture and the trends and everything that's coming next. It's definitely one of the most special, BFF partnerships that we've ever had.
Wow, that's amazing. I can't wait to hear more about it.
So if you go on our website or on our Instagram, which is at Etra Girls, ETRE Girls, you'll see the link in the bio and people can sign up to hear what's coming. They can be first to know. So moms who are listening, very cool aunts, big sisters, or the girls themselves, head to that landing page because you definitely want to be first to know.
And if other people companies want to be partners with you, like, do you guys figure out together what kind of partnership it is? Like, how does that work?
It's really very girl driven, as I said. So for a lot of the companies, the girls will say, we want to come. They really wanted to ring the bell at NASDAQ, and NASDAQ made that happen. And having them see, by the way, their pictures on the podium on the Jumbotron outside, like I honestly still have sort of a dull ringing in my ears from the screaming in Times Square. If companies are interested, and this goes across all industries, our girls have deep interest in sports, in STEM, in art, in theater, in finance, just all of these areas. They can reach out. I'm easy to find on LinkedIn. They can head to our Instagram. The website is etragirls.com. And there are tons of forms or ways just to DM and say, We don't know yet what it looks like, but we'd love to mentor. We have women who would love to help mentor your TED Talks. We have women who would love to host girls for a day. We'd love to visit a school. We'd love to speak at an event. We want to showcase those women. Women who are leading in their fields right now, there are a million ways for us to bring them in front of girls. So the company doesn't have to know what it looks like yet. If they're interested, just reach out and we can brainstorm together. And we keep a list of requests from girls in schools. So there may be an immediate fit.
Yeah, amazing. All right. Well, I know I have to let you go soon, but I do ask one question of every guest, and that is, what is the worst advice you've ever received?
Not yet. I think being told it's too early, it's too soon, not yet, was tremendously bad advice. And I hate it when people give it to girls. I don't think it's ever too early to bring that idea forward, to get in front of a mic and say it. If you have a book in you, write it. If you have a nonprofit or a social purpose entity in you, start it. I just don't think it's too early. And being told not yet, wait your turn, you're not ready, I think absolutely do your homework. Get prepared, talk to as many people as you can about this idea, but no, not yet. It's never too early.
Yeah, not yet, because not yet becomes never doing it, right? Or looking back, or like it's never perfect enough.
Exactly what you said. There's never going to be a time where the stars align and you say this is the perfect moment to do whatever this next big thing is.
Yeah.
Say the words, push the button, make the call.
I love it. Oh my God. Thank you so much. This is so inspiring.
Yeah, thank you.
I am, in awe of what you're doing. And it's just so helpful to young girls to see it, to be it, and it's like, and then practicing, and negotiating and understanding all of that, which is what I'm trying so hard every day to do, to get like women to like
you're giving. The advice you're giving. I was going through your list of podcast guests. So many of them have mentored our girls or been in the books. And it's exactly the advice you gave in the book about underestimating yourself.
Yeah.
And calling it out when you see it. That's advice that every girl and every woman should literally have as a screensaver. So the conversations you're having are already impacting that generation. I'm sure of it.
Thank you. All right. So also you just mentioned the books. Talk about the books. Where are they? What are they called so people can buy them?
There's a book aimed at middle schoolers called Etra, Girls, Who Do You Want to Be? Which is a collection of quotes from amazing women and girls side by side, and articles that I've written for different groups. And then the most recent book is called The Epic Mentor Guide. And it is advice from 180 women in response to questions that girls asked, really specific about the workplace. How do I get an internship at SpaceX? How do I write a cover letter for NBC? Very specific. And we had women at all the companies answer them, including you.
Thank you. All right. And then to find you again, one more time.
Etra Girls, ETRE Girls. On Instagram is the easiest way. I'm Illana Raia, but you can find us on Insta and find out more about Hello Sunshine, find out more about our new TED series and everything else that we're doing next and how to jump in.
Love it. Thank you so much for being on today, and for everyone listening. Thank you for listening to this episode of Taking Care of Lady Business. Until next time, I'm Jennifer Justice. Thanks for tuning in to Taking Care of Lady Business. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share this episode with a friend who needs that extra push to own their success. And if you want more strategies, stories, and exclusive content, follow us on TikTok at Taking Care of Lady Business, on Instagram at thejustice.dept and Jennifer Justice L, or visit our website at thejusticedept.com. Taking Care of Lady Business is a production of Lady Business LLC and Salutations Media Co.